In this lesson, you're going to get a chance to practice one of the most common words that we use in business English. And do you know what that word is? The word work. Now, you're asking me, the word work, I know how to use the word work. Sure, of course, you know the meaning and you know what it is to work. So the only question is, are you using it in the right way? That means, are you using the right preposition after the word work? All right? Because we actually have so many different prepositions that we can use with this very common everyday word. Okay? So here we're going to look at some of those, and it's really important, those little words, as you know, those prepositions, right? So today in this lesson, we're going to look at the prepositions with work. Now, separately, I have an entire course called Correct Your English Errors in 10 minutes a day, where we take items like this and we correct every day something like grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, expressions, something. Little corrections and these small changes can make a gigantic difference to the level of your English and the quality of your English. Okay? So if you're interested, check out the link to that course. All right? But now let's figure out if you're using the word work correctly. All right. So this is how we're going to do it. So let's pretend that each of these is a sentence and it starts with either he works or she works, and then something. For example, he works blank the finance department. So what preposition would you use there? Now, you could do this in two ways. I'm standing to the side. If you like, you can pause the video, go through them, put down, maybe if you have a piece of paper or something, put down what you think the answers are, and then you can check them with me as we go along, or you can do it together with me. Okay, so I'm going to begin now. So he works blank the finance department. Which preposition do we use there? He works in the finance department. Okay? You work in a department. You work in a division. You work in a branch. Later, I'll be showing you what some of these prepositions refer to. Okay? But for now, let's go through the quiz and see where you are. Okay? Number 2, she works blank a customer service agent. What's that? This word can be used as a preposition. Not often, but it can be used as a preposition. She works as, okay? So when you describe what your position is, you can say, I work as an IT manager. I work as a customer service agent, and so on. Okay, that means that is my role. That is my position. All right, great. Number 3, he works blank 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. He works blank 8 to 4. He works from 8 to 4. Okay? All right? Good. Number 4, she works blank a laptop. So what do we use there? She works on a laptop. Okay? Very good. How are you doing so far? Are you getting them? Good, good, excellent. I can see you. All right, number 5. She works blank home. Nowadays, many people are doing this. They're not working in the office. They're working, what is it? From home. Okay? She's working from home. Now, you could say she works at home. It's possible. It has a slightly different meaning. But she works from home means that the job that she's doing either for a company might be being done right now from her home, or she works from home for herself. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have to work for someone else, but that you're working from that location. All right? Number 6. He works blank Tuesdays and Thursdays. So what do we say there? He works on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, you might be wondering, why does she have an S there? Why can't we just say on Tuesday and Thursday? You could say that. That's fine too. But if someone says he works on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that means every Tuesday and every Thursday. Okay, that's all it means. Or let's say if we say we have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that means every Tuesday and every Thursday. And just like if we said one day or one date, we have to say on Tuesday, on Thursday. Okay, good. Number 7. She works blank ABC company. There are a couple of possibilities here. Let's see if you get one of them. She works for, you could say, that means who do you work for, right? Who is your employer? So then you could say she works for ABC company. Sometimes people say she works at ABC company. And sometimes they might even say she works in ABC company, all right? But really, she works for that person, that employer, or she works at that company, all right? Number 8. He works blank the 5th floor. Which floor? The 5th floor. So he works, which preposition is it? He works on the 5th floor. Okay, so those were just 8. There are many other possibilities that we're going to be looking at. How did you do on those? Did you get them right? Did you get any wrong? Let's see now why these are like this and what are the kind of categories, what do they refer to, when do we usually use from, when do we usually use for, and things like that. Okay, we're going to see that in 1 second. So here we have some of the many possibilities of which prepositions to use with the word work. So let's go through them, okay? Don't worry, it's not too much. Just try to understand why certain prepositions are being used as much as possible, okay? All right, so at. He works at the airport. At is kind of very specific place. At the airport, at a bank, okay? Or at my desk. I work at my desk, all right? That's one, very kind of specific place. Here, by the way, you could also say he works at the corner of, okay, of Main Street and Jane Street, all right? You could say that, all right? So that's when we use at. Next, for. We can use for in a few different ways. You can use for, again, as I mentioned earlier, to describe who is your employer. So let's say he works for Microsoft, or he works for Mr. Johnson, all right? So we could use it in that way. You could also use it to talk about the length of time that someone works. For example, he works for 8 hours a day. All right? Got it? Good. Let's move on. Then who do you work with? All right? Who are the people or the teams that you work with? He works with Susan, or she works with the IT department. All right? So that's who you work with. That's who you work for, and this is where you work at. All right? Let's go on. She works in a factory, okay? In a factory. She works in a building. She works in an office. We also use it, so we could talk about the specific place, like in a factory, in a store, or we could say a city or a country. She works in London. She works in England. All right? Next, if we're talking about on, we mentioned before, right? He works on a laptop. Or he's working on a project. Usually there we'll say not works, but working, but same verb, right? Right now, I'm working on a specific project. I'm working on a special project. Not in a project, on a project. Okay, that's that one. Next, he works on the 18th floor. All right, there we go. On a certain floor of a building. All right, next, as. Again, we talked about here, we use as plus the type of role that you have. For example, he works as a manager, okay? Or works as a waiter. She works as a salesperson, okay? So that's one way in which you could describe yourself. Try to talk about this. Whenever you're looking at any of these, whether it's as or for or with, the main thing you could do at the very end is to write about yourself and use the appropriate prepositions to write about yourself, to talk about yourself. Say some sentences to tell about yourself. Talk about some other people in your family. Who do they work for? Who do they work with? And so on. All right? And that way it becomes more relevant and it's much easier for you to remember it. Next, you could say that someone works from a certain time to a certain time. Okay? From 9 to 5, usually we say. Or from Monday to Friday. Or, as we had said before, works from home. Okay? He works from home. Or he works from the New York office. That's possible. All right? So this is the place you work from or the times you work from. Got it? All right. Then, until what time? Okay? If from is usually going to start with the time you start working, until talks about the ending time. So he starts at 9, but he works until 5 or until midnight. You could say until or till. It's the same thing. And another one, which you sometimes hear, he works during the week or he works during the day. All right? So we see here some, like these are just 9 of the prepositions. You might actually see a few more, but these are the most common ones to use with the word work, which I'm sure you use very often. So try to learn these well. And as I said, make some relevant sentences of your own to make it real for you. Okay? And again, these are just some of the very common small mistakes that could lower your English. So if you want to raise your level of English, also check out my English course, Correct Your English Errors in 10 minutes a day. By correcting one small thing each day, you can raise your level quite a lot. A lot of students have already tried it. They say they've enjoyed it very much. I hope you'll have a chance to do the same. Okay? Thanks very much for watching and all the best with your English. Bye for now.